Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord. In the wilderness, a voice is crying. In the wilderness, the voice is calling. In the wilderness, he is a voice shouting. In the wilderness, the voice of one calling out. These are all translations both of Isaiah 40 and of Mark chapter 1, verse 3 from last week. One could imagine the voice yelling, whooping, bellowing, or if you're me, even singing out, "Prepare the way of the Lord," perhaps with a commanding melody of Handel, or accompanied by the Swedish tune Beriden väg vår Herren, which we generally associate with a delightful Advent hymn, number 65. Prepare the way, O Zion, your Christ is drawing near. Let every hill and valley a level way appear. Greet one who comes in glory, foretold in sacred story. Oh, blessed is Christ that came in God's most holy name. But this week, there is not a voice, or the voice. The gospel writer has John the Baptizer claiming the title, "I am the voice." I am. I was struck by the use of the words and the claim of ownership. What is different for John than it was for Isaiah or Mark? And what does it mean for us 2 millennia later, at the end of what I'm sure everyone would agree has been a very challenging year? Isaiah, the author of the first 39 chapters, was writing in the time of King Uzziah and the 3 kings following. For him, this was a dangerous and challenging time. None of these leaders of Israel were able to emulate what had been a largely bountiful reign of Uzziah's 50 years. Instead, weak leadership, vast disparities of wealth, and dangerous alliances had placed the nation at great risk. 100 years later, the author of 3rd Isaiah, including chapter 40, is no longer living with great risk, but has instead witnessed the people of Jerusalem displaced to Babylon and the independent kingdom of Israel reduced to a client state of Nebuchadnezzar II. For this Isaiah, a voice in the wilderness is a voice removed, a voice taken away. A voice we hear in Psalm 137, sitting down, weeping, and remembering Zion. It is a voice that longs to return to the city of Jerusalem and to rebuild the temple of Yahweh. Remember that at this time, Yahweh's home was physically located. The temple held the covenant between God and the chosen people. The question we hear the Melodians sing in 1972, "How can we sing our song in a strange land?" was not a philosophical question for the wise ones, but a very real and enormous challenge for the remnant displaced over 900 miles and with no possibility of worship as practiced by their parents. 50 years later, Cyrus II and the Assyrians conquer Babylon and allow the exiles to return to Jerusalem, and the temple is rebuilt. For the next 600 years, Jerusalem remains the physical and spiritual home of the children of the tribes of Benjamin and Judah. Now think about that. 600 years is more than twice as long as the United States has been a nation at all. And it remained that for the children of Benjamin and Judah until disaster happens. That disaster is the context in which Mark was writing in 70 Common Era. The temple has been destroyed, and this time there will be no building back. It is not just losing a way of life, but losing the very fabric that had held society together. This time last year, if I'd asked all of you about a tremendous loss, I'm sure the answers would have been both unique and varied. Reflecting just on my own experience, I might have told you of the loss of a close childhood friend as our parents moved to different locations and moved emotionally apart. Or I might have talked about the loss of the farm my family tried to make work. Or the marriage which ended after 2 kids in 20 years. Each had a significant impact, but the impact was limited to myself and those who were close to me. Now go back to March 16th of this past year, just 7 months ago. New Hampshire and a significant portion of our nation, and more generally the world, began to shut down. And we began to live in a time of tremendous loss. Most of us lost our routine, the closeness of family, the daily quotidian connections which assist in bringing flavor to everyday life. Many of us lost income and savings. And sadly, far too many have lost someone close, someone dear. Mark is writing in this time. Mark is writing in April or May, when things look bad and then begin to look worse. It is perhaps poetic that the original ending to the Gospel of Mark has been lost, leaving us with Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and Salome fleeing an empty tomb, trembling and in bewilderment. What else can you say when you have lost that which was most precious, that which gave life meaning? We are not in March. We have traveled 7 months, though it feels like 7 years. We are with John, writing at least 20 years after the destruction of the temple. And like John, we know that some things simply will not be the same. For good or bad, where we work won't be the same. Where we live won't be the same. Our health care won't be the same. I would say that worship and the practice of our faith won't be the same, but anyone who's been part of a faith community knows that while the change we've seen in the past year has been significant, we've been seeing significant change for the past 50 to 60 years. The church we knew in the 70s is not the church we know today. And this is not to place a value judgment on then and now. Change in and of itself allows for something different. As someone once said, tradition is innovation that took. What John does offer us when we know, just like then, that the city and the temple cannot be rebuilt the way it was. Looking a little bit further, John answers this question in verses 32 to 34. He writes, I saw the Spirit descending from heaven like a dove, and it remained on him. I myself did not know him, but the one who sent me to baptize with water said to me, He on whom you see the Spirit descend and remain is the one who baptizes with the Holy Spirit, the pneuma. And I myself have seen and have testified that this is the Son of God. The temple has been destroyed and Jerusalem is in ruins, but John says to us that the Spirit, the pneuma of God, is not tied to a place or a building. It is embodied in Jesus, the Christ, the Anointed One. And we, as members of the Jesus movement, as those who eat of his flesh and drink of his blood, so too the Spirit is within us. If the city can't be transformed, then the body can be. Now, this is the season of Advent. It is a time of preparation. It is a time to ask, what is your role? Who is your role? Where is your role? The Spirit of God is entering the world. Is it entering you? What will this mean for you? To answer that question, I'd like to bring you back to that time of loss. I know that for me, Each loss meant pain and emptiness and feelings of being alone. I believe that as a congregation and as a nation, we have experienced these very feelings collectively. And at the same time, as I look back on those moments of loss in my life, I know that each of them offered a new opportunity. It offered an opportunity that I could not fathom, never mind dream of at the time. And so as we prepare to welcome the Son of Man into this world, I would suggest that as hard as it might be, now is the time to stretch those physical and emotional and psychological muscles and ligaments and tendons. Now is the time to crouch, not to crouch defensively, but now is the time to open yourself up and be ready to receive the pneuma, the Spirit of God descending. Rumi, a 13th century Persian poet, writes, "Dance when you're broken open. Dance if you've torn the bandage off. Dance in the middle of the fighting. Dance in your blood. Dance when you are perfectly free." As we prepare for Christmas and the possibilities of the new year, now is the time to dance. Amen.